All right, we will go ahead and get started here in order to honor everybody's time. My hope is for all of us to be out of here actually before 6:30 p.m. So you can have a little bit of your evening back. Before we jump in, I do want to remind you that this is the Ready, Set, Register clearing hold session for our incoming students. We are so excited to have you at Texas A&M, and we are thrilled that you have been accepted. And we look forward to hopefully having you complete your intent to enroll by registering for your new student conference. My name is Olivia Elliott, and I work within new student and family programs in the Department of Student Life. And I have a few colleagues here who I'm going to let introduce themselves as well.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Corey Ritter. I also work with new student family programs within the Department of Student Life. I also am a double graduate from Texas A&M, so loved it so much I decided to stay here a little bit longer.
Perfect. And then we also have Chapman, who is going to be moderating our chat.
Yes, I will be moderating the chat features. The chat features at the bottom of your screen. So we'll be able to answer those lives, or I will text and answer back to you. But my name is Chapman. I also work in student life or in new student and family programs. I'm primarily more on the family programming side. So you'll learn more about the family programming side at your new student conference this summer.
Perfect. And then we also have an admissions rep with us today.
Howdy, everyone. This is Chantel Baden-Utley. I am a regional advisor here at Texas A&M, working directly with the South and Northeast. But if you do have any questions in general about admissions, feel free to drop them in the box and I will try my best to answer them. So glad that you all are here tonight.
Perfect. So we will have Chapman and Chantel out here tackling the questions boxes from y'all. Please feel free to ask any questions throughout the session. We are here to support you. One caveat I like to provide is while we work to provide a lot of information, I want to share that we do not own a lot of this information. We simply serve as the relayer of information from several of our hubs and campus partners throughout the university. So we are going to do our best to support you, but if you have questions that are very specific to your situation, for example, I'm going to say about bacterial meningitis, we will provide contact information so you can get in contact with those individuals. But we will also be providing the opportunity at the end where Chapman will ask us some of your questions and we will be able to answer those live. So please feel free to utilize that feature, but don't stress if your question is not answered right away because we will have that opportunity at the end for Chapman to ask those live. So to jump in, I am thrilled to say that this session is to really start preparing you for day 2 of your new student conference. I understand many of you are probably in your senior years, you have senior sports happening, you have prom to prepare for, you have the most exciting thing, which is your graduation. And so we want you to live out all of these moments to the fullest, but we also want to recognize that you are preparing for this transition to Texas A&M University. And with that comes preparing for whatever you need to do in order to ensure you are able to get to that first day of class, whether that be this summer or this fall term. So we are going to present some information to help you be best prepared. We are a school that likes to, what I like to say, place a lot of holds, but it is all in the interest of you to ensure that you are completing steps throughout the process and getting those accomplished. So we will review those holds. We will also review how you can go ahead and view those holds in either your AIS checklist or in Howdy. So in your AIS checklist, you will officially see all these to-do items once you confirm your intent to enroll at Texas A&M by registering for a new student conference. Also, you've heard me say new student conference a few times. Some of you may have siblings that have come here and you know exactly what this looks like. Some of you might be like, what is the new student conference? I have never heard of this before. Essentially, Texas A&M has a lot of fun words for things that are very common. So I'm going to actually let my coworker, Corey Ritter, explain what a new student conference is.
Awesome. Thank you, Olivia. So like Olivia said, our new student conference is really our orientation for our students as they're coming to campus. It's that kickoff to that transition from being a high school student to a Texas A&M Aggie, right? So really our goal with the New Student Conference is to make that connection for you to services we have here on campus, all of the resources that we have to support you through not only your transition, but throughout your college career. And then also those support systems and support resources that are here to make sure that you're making the most of your time here at Texas A&M. So the New Student Conference is kind of like that holistic transition to Texas A&M to make sure you're putting your best foot forward as you come to campus in the fall. And so as part of that, you'll have a day 1 of your NSC and a day 2. We're focusing on that day 2 right now with those holds and some of those action items. So Olivia, if you want to switch to that next slide.
Yes.
So one thing you're going to hear a lot throughout this process, as you prepare for your NSC, and a lot of the communication that you'll receive from our office, from your college, from the university is going to be about your holds and your action items. Both of those you can find in your applicant portal as well as your Howdy portal. So your holds are going to indicate an action that needs to be taken. This can impact one or more services. So the one that we're focusing on is that course registration. Some of these holds, if you don't take care of them before your NSC or before day 2 of your NSC, you're not going to be able to register for classes. So we really want to stress how important it is to stay on top of those holds as you approach your NSC date. Because you want to be taking care of those ahead of time. We don't want you stressing about that once you're here for your NSC. In addition to that, you'll have what we call action items. These are tasks that must be completed each semester before you're able to register. So these include terms of use, location updates, things like that. These are things that might not necessarily affect your registration process, but they are things that are going to need to be taken care of before you're able to register for the next semester of courses. So your action items you can find in your applicant portal. And then the most updated view of your holds, you're going to be able to find in your Howdy portal. And so then as we're talking about holds and more holds, I'll pass it over to Olivia to talk about some of the common holds that we'll see throughout the NSC process.
Yes, so I want to highlight that we really want to start this conversation now. We have in the past experienced students that get to their new student conference and we'll hear comments even to like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that I had a Texas A&M email. So we want to make sure that you are equipped with the knowledge that you need to prepare for this experience. The last thing that we want is for you to have a list of holds that you need to take care of that really takes away from you absorbing the information that you are receiving at your new student conference and being able to make those connections with the faculty, staff, and peers that you'll be meeting throughout that experience. Because each of our new student conferences, we have room for about 750 students. So it's a great opportunity for you to begin connecting with people either in your same major or that share similar interests as you. But we do have a few holds that we want to cover. These are the most commonly seen ones, and this means that we see these probably being the most issue when a student arrives to their new student conference. So one of these is going to be online orientation, and the code that's in parentheses, the AO, is going to be the code that you either see in your Howdy portal, or we do print the code, the hold codes on the back of your name tag for your new student conference if you do still have that hold. So we don't want this to be alarming if you happen to see this, but we want you to be aware of what this means. So online orientation is a series of modules that's designed to deliver not only timely and relevant information to students, but also information that will start to prepare you for this transition experience. We are this year doing a phased model to your orientation and transition experience. And so we will have a set of modules that is going to release in early May for your new student conference. So whether you are taking one of our early new student conferences in June, or you have our late August new student conference, this is time for you to start completing those modules that talk about what does it mean to prepare for my new student conference, similar to how we're talking today about the course registration holds. We'll also share some information about logistics related to the new student conference and information about your academic unit, so that this isn't the first time that you are hearing about your academic unit, or honestly, in some cases, learning that this is your academic unit and that your major belongs to a specific college. So we want to really set the stage for you to be knowledgeable about this information. And we will also have the opportunity to discuss finances throughout that first phase of online orientation. And if you happen to be a dependent of a veteran or identify as current former US military, we'll have some specific information in there for you to review as well. But as we close out the step 1 of our modules, your hold will release, and you will then be cleared for the online orientation hold to register for classes. Next, you will have your in-person new student conference experience, and then around August 1st, August 1st, we will have the release of the secondary set of modules for online orientation. So this will be a set of modules that really starts to prepare you for that transition. What does it mean to move into Aggieland? How do you navigate this large campus and this community? So we'll have opportunities to discuss and share that information as well. We have gone through a large overhaul of our online orientation recently and really have thought about the students in mind. How do we deliver the most important information while not overloading our students? And so this should really take you no more than an hour to complete. Honestly, I'm probably going to say it's going to be about 30 to 45 minutes max. It's really just going to depend on the number of steps that you take during that process to go out and complete some items. But this will be available the first week of May. I do want to emphasize that again, because it is going to appear on your AIS checklist. And for some of you, you might be those eager beavers wanting to get everything done right now. And we absolutely love that. But we also don't want to overwhelm you too much. And so we try to phase out the information. But also right now we're working diligently to update this information to ensure that it is accurate for you and when you are entering Texas A&M. As Corey mentioned, though, you will receive a lot of emails with your to-do items. Fun facts, those actually do come from Corey, so please make sure that you are checking those out. They will be sent to both the Texas A&M email you have and the email that you use to apply to Texas A&M. I do want to emphasize that we strongly encourage you to check that Texas A&M email as much as possible. Although we are also communicating with your application email, it is going to be most useful for you to also check your Texas A&M one and start getting in the habit of that. And then finally, this should be completed about 3 business days before your new student conference. So if your new student conference is on a Tuesday, let's just, in this scenario, we have no holidays happening, so it's not going to impact the timeline, but you really should be completing your online orientation by Thursday, at least the end of that day, so that it is ready for it to be taken care of and the hold to resolve. The good news is your hold should resolve genuinely immediately, and that is a big step we have also taken to remove a little bit of the barrier for students to register. In addition, every student will have to select a tuition rate code if they are classified as a Texas resident for the purpose of tuition. So previously, how I mentioned that we are often a relayer of information and we aren't necessarily the experts, this is one of those areas. So I am going to provide a brief overview, but more information is going to be shared in your online orientation about tuition rate codes, what it means to be a Texas resident. And you can also go to the link at the bottom of the screen at text.ag/tuition rate code to learn more about the options available to you. So as far as our Texas residents go, if you are a freshman student, you will have 2 options to select. That will be a locked rate or a variable rate. This means that the locked rate is going to stay set over a period of time, and the variable rate has the opportunity to change year over year. Our transfer students, you actually have another option that is available that will backtrack to when you would have entered Texas A&M as a freshman, and the period is a little bit shorter for how long that plan lasts, but it will provide that locked-in rate from when you would have first joined Texas A&M. Non-resident students, so non-residents of the state of Texas, will automatically be assigned the variable rate plan. I can share, though, that it appears that the variable rate has not surpassed the locked rate yet. What does this look like in the future? I would love to tell you, but I am not sure. Although I do know that the tuition rate is locked in for at least this next year. But you will receive a lot of information, not only in the online orientation, but we will have Aggie One Stop, who houses so many resources from financial aid, scholarships, military education benefits, our admissions friends. They house all of these great people who are the experts within this area. And so they're going to be readily available at the New Student Conference. You'll actually even have a session that talks about paying your bill at your New Student Conference, because that might be a little bit important. But Aggie One Stop will also have a resource table at the NSC. Finally, we have bacterial meningitis. This is the last one that I am going to cover before I turn it over to Corey. But bacterial meningitis is something that must be completed as far as vaccination goes. So this is a Texas bill. This is not a Texas A&M only requirement. This is across the state, but all students are required to submit proof of vaccination or meet criteria for declining. You might see some information that says that all students must have this before the first day of class. That may be accurate to an extent. However, if you are a new student, you must have it done before your new student conference, or else you won't be able to register for classes. For some of our students, your records will be just fine, but it should be no more than 5 years old from the first date of class, and you can upload your documentation to MedProctor. If you are declining it, you will know, your family members will know, and you will receive other documentation that must be submitted in person during your new student conference. I do want to highlight, though, for our MedProctor, do not pay to expedite. Apparently that is an option. This is a third-party service that Texas A&M utilizes, and that is an option that is available, but I do want to be clear that paying to expedite the process essentially does nothing. Because our team still has to review the process. This is one of those things that I learned recently, that Texas A&M has a lot of automated processes. However, the bacterial meningitis aspect is not automated, because an individual person has to go through every single record and make sure that information is accurate. So that means going through, we have about 15,000 incoming students each fall semester. So that is one person reviewing 15,000 records. So it is a lot to go through. But we do want to highlight that this is probably one of the biggest barriers that we do see to course registration, and it causes a bit of a panic. And so we don't want that to happen. So just make sure that you submit your documentation to MedProctor at least 2 weeks before your new student conference. But I will turn it over to Corey to talk a little bit about Texas Success Initiative and our NSC non-attendance.
I am going to real quick hit the question that just popped up in the chat because it caught my eye, and it's related to what we just talked about with the bacterial meningitis. The question was, bacterial meningitis documents needed to go in 2 weeks before the NSC, but you also said you can hand in person. We recommend turning it in 2 weeks before your NSC because you can do that online through MedProctor. If you've gotten the shot, you have the record. And then that gives admissions a chance to go in, review that document, and clear your hold. And then you don't have to worry about it. For the turning it in person, that is if you have an exemption, which requires contacting the state to get an exemption to. It's a very drawn out process. And if that is the route that you choose to take, absolutely no problem. It is just a longer process, and that document actually has to be notarized and then handed in person. And so we recommend handing it in at your NSC because you'll already be in town. Admissions can then review that document and clear that hold as soon as possible so that you're able to register for classes.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
So I just wanted to clarify that before we moved on. And like Olivia said, we're not the experts. I would recommend contacting admissions. You can do that through your applicant portal, ask a question, contact us there and speak to admissions because they have all the information you'll need about that specific hold. But moving on to our next hold the next two holds we want to talk about. The Texas Success Initiative is a statewide program created by the state of Texas to ensure preparation for college level reading, writing, and math. And so we'll have more information on that TSI, Texas Success Initiative hold at our next Ready, Set, Register webinar for our placement exams. But just so you know, this is something that you'll need to meet either through your SAT or ACT scores. And if you don't meet those, once your scores have been submitted, the TSI office will reach out and let you know what they need from you in order to fulfill that requirement. But like I said, we'll have more information and the people who actually do that at our next webinar. So they'll be able to give you more information about that. If you want to look into that more now, you can go to tx.ag/TSI info and you can find more information there. Another,
Sorry.
You're good.
I just saw the link, and I do also want to say that while we mention the Ready, Set, Register session on March 19th, we do have a registration link at the end of this presentation. So if you are looking to attend that, know that we will provide that information a little bit later.
Awesome. Another hold that you might find on either your Howdy portal or on your name tag once you get to your NSC is an AN hold, and that's our NSC attendance hold. So this hold is if you don't show up to your NSC because your NSC is required and you can't register for classes without coming to your NSC. And so this hold could pop up because if you were intended to come in a previous term and then deferred your admittance, or if you even rescheduled your NSC and that hold didn't update before we printed our name tags, the hold could be there. No big deal. Just stop by our help desk at your NSC, speak to one of our pro staff members, and we can go ahead and remove that hold for you before you get to day 2 and to register for your classes. Next, I want to talk about and dive in a little bit deeper. We have a pretty large international student population, so we want to make sure that we're hitting some of the holds that those students will see as well, which we'll talk about on this next slide. So some of those common holds for international students that we're going to want to take care of before you get to your NSC, especially, is that tuberculosis screening hold. I want to make it clear too that if you resided in a different country or were born in a different country, regardless of citizenship, I encourage you to check out this link at the bottom. That's tx.ag/TB screening. That is going to give you a list of the countries who are considered high risk, and you might need to provide that tuberculosis screening to clear that hold. This is one that we really stress to do before you get to your NSC. It's a little bit more in depth. You'll want to get that taken care of before you come to your NSC. It's required for all incoming international students who are born in or resided in a high-risk country for more than 3 months. It's a little bit different. You'll email that screening form and the T-spot blood test results to tbhold@tamu.edu or fax them to 979-458-8319. And then that hold will release within 24 to 48 hours following submission. Like that bacterial meningitis, it is also one of those that somebody has to physically go in, review that documentation, and make sure it meets the requirements to remove that hold. So we really, really want to stress taking care of that before you come to your NSC. Another hold that our international students, all of our international students will have is our international student check-in, and that is an IC hold. So international students with an F1 or J1 visa must check in with International Student and Scholar Services They can complete this online after arriving to the United States or Texas A&M University. And this is one that does not need to be done before your NSC or even at your NSC. We recommend just taking care of it so you get it done, get it out of the way, you don't forget about it. But it just must be completed by the last day of the add drop period, which is a couple days after the first day of class. For more information on that, you can go to tx.ag/F1J1 student.
Perfect. So I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen for a second. That was a lot of information. So we want to take a break for a moment, address any of the questions that you might have still lingering, and then we will jump into how can you start checking for these holds?
Right now, we have no questions, or we answered them in the chat. One person did ask about if they can send the bacterial meningitis exemption through the mail. And I put the information in the chat that you can. It does need to be 90 days and notarized within the 90 days before sending it. And you can mail it to the location I sent in the webinar chat. But it cannot be uploaded, faxed, or emailed. That's why majority of our students who have the exemption just hand it in person, because it has that 90-day 90-day requirement, and then additionally it also has that notarizing requirement. So it's a kind of a lofty document that you want to keep safe. So you can mail it if you would like, but it is more likely that they can do it.
Yes, and I will say too, what is very nice, you may be like, what is a notary and how do I find one? Texas A&M actually has some, and so we have some that will be available. You would still have to set up an appointment during your new student conference if that is the last resort and the best option for you. But we do have that option available if that is something that you need.
There was a follow-up question to that. If they are handing it in person, where do they hand it into? We have two options. So at check-in, we normally have someone from our admissions staff on hand to take care of some of that bacterial meningitis documentation. In addition, you'll have opportunities throughout the day to pop over to our Aggie One Stop, which is on campus, and you can turn it in there as well. Which is at our general services complex. That is where Aggie One Stop is housed. They'll be able to take that documentation during your NSC. And then there was another follow-up question about if you can't take the bacterial meningitis because of your health or anything like that. I will say there's more information on the admissions website for bacterial meningitis and exemptions. You'll have to do a petition to waive the bacterial meningitis vaccination requirement, and then the state will actually mail that form to you, which is why it's a little bit of a longer process. And if that's the route you're taking, I recommend starting that now so that you have time to receive that documentation, fill it out, get it notarized, and have it ready for your NSC.
Yes.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to say, or do you want to continue on? We have some questions in the chat that I can answer.
Yeah, I just saw one that asked about transcripts. Transcripts are also one of those things that it is not a hold that is going to impact your ability to register at your new student conference. Those will be due shortly after the start of the semester before a hold is genuinely placed on your account, preventing registration for the following semester. We always recommend that if you are a student who has taken AP classes, IB classes, done dual enrollment, the high achiever, that you bring in an unofficial copy of your transcript if things are not finalized at that time. We also recognize that a lot of AP scores might not be available in May or June, but you won't receive them until July. So again, just bring in an unofficial copy of your transcript, and your advisors will utilize that in order to best advise you for the classes that you need to take.
Okay, the second to keep on the same line as academics and class ACTs, do we need to send for your ACT score the composite score or the super score?
That is a great question.
Good question. It'll be the composite score. We do not super score.
Perfect.
Thank you. So the next question has to do with the student is coming in with 60 credits. They still need to take the MPE.
I think part of that will depend on if you have taken math courses. So for most of our transfer students, like genuine transfer students, they do not have to take the MPE because they have completed 2 courses within math. And part of this also could depend on the math that you need. So if you have taken like college algebra as dual enrollment, then that may count towards your credit hours. But if you're an engineering major, you'll need to take like some calculus courses, so you might need to take that exam. Information about the MPE will not only be shared in online orientation, but will also be available 1 month before your new student conference. And we will talk all about MPE in our next session in March as well. But the good news about the MPE is you seriously log into your Howdy, you click on it, it says take the exam. And if you don't need it, I don't believe that it will be available to you.
Yes. Corey, you were going to say something?
I was going to up to the next question, but I don't know if we're done.
Okay, well, there's a if y'all could be asking questions in the Q&A feature, that would be greatly appreciated. We're hopping back and forth from the chat and the Q&A. So if you could just ask questions in the Q&A feature so we can have it all in one place, but I'm trying to play catch up a little bit here. But one of the students, they're in calculus right now and they're an engineering student. Will at my NSC, I'll be able to see what calculus level I need to take or what that be discussed at a different meeting?
So you are always able to view the undergraduate catalog for your major and see the courses that you are expected to take. This will outline every single course you are expected to take throughout your tenure at Texas A&M for your intended major. So with that, you will have the opportunity to see what math courses are required. Again, this is a really great opportunity to see what that math placement exam is. Your advisors will also be able to talk to you about the classes that you will enroll in.
Perfect. Okay, Corey, you can go on to the core question.
Awesome. I love this question because it has to do with my job. So basically the question is trying to schedule the fitting for day 2 as a cadet, all of that stuff. Base of the question, what happens? What's the schedule for the NSC? Great news, that is coming soon. Right now we have a sample schedule from our January conference, which is close to what the schedule will be like for the summer NSC. We are finalizing that now, and it should be up on our website at newaggie.tamu.edu probably around mid-March. So we'll have a sample schedule, which we say sample schedule because it's always subject to change, but it's really the schedule that will follow throughout all of our NSCs. As far as day 2, the times you really need to know is that at 8:30, you'll likely have your dean's meeting, which is required. You'll break off with your individual major/departments to do advising. Lunch will happen around noon, and then Olivia, correct me or remind me, what time is registration? Registration will happen at 2. So as long as you're not scheduling anything during those times, also the Corps is really great about working with you in terms of making sure that the NSC is your priority while you're here during that time. They'll make sure that they're helping you make it to all of your NSC sessions while also getting your fitting done for your Corps uniform. That's kind of specific to the Corps, but also just a good overview of what that day 2 looks like and kind of a breakdown. But stay tuned, that sample schedule is coming soon.
Yes, we just approved the official schedule, so Corey is busy at work on getting everything updated. I see that we do still have a lot of MPE questions out there and very specific questions related to your individual math courses that you have taken. I am going to drive y'all towards our next session on the 19th of March to ask those questions, as we will have an expert from the math department who does oversight of the MPE, and they'll be able to answer all of your questions related to the math placement exam and get into a little bit more of the specifics of what does it mean to be coming in with a math course already under your belt. I do want to address, kind of jumping back to our tuition rate. This will probably be the last one that we answer right now so that we can get back into the last little bits of our presentation. But we have a student that said, if I'm not locking in for 4 years, and I'm only planning to be at A&M for 3, should I choose the variable rate? Short answer is you do not have to choose the variable rate. So all of our tuition rates that are locked are set for a specific period of time. And so if it says it's set for 12 semesters and you use 10 of those semesters, then ultimately, say that you were to come back, you still have another 2 semesters at that locked rate. So it essentially just says if you are planning to achieve your degree in 4 years, we will have a locked rate for you for 4 years. But if you happen to take a little bit longer, you'll get that locked rate for 4 years, and then you would have to switch over to the variable rate. So I hope that helps to answer that question a little bit. But we will go ahead and reshare our screen. Chapman and Chantel will be back in that chat to be able to answer your questions. And we will cover how you can go about viewing your holds and then wrap us up with some information about what this March 19th session is and how you can register to attend it. All right. It appears that my screen is sharing. So we will jump back in. So we are going to review your AIS, which is your applicant information system. This is where you are going to accept your admission and do all of your fun things for registering for your new student conference, and talking a little bit about Howdy. Before I jump into this, I do want to mention that with technology, it is always changing, it is always updating. And so with that, our Howdy platform is going through an overhaul. You may be able to see it right now as Howdy Beta, but we are essentially going to be transitioning to Howdy Beta with a goal launch of May. But we all know how technology works, and sometimes it doesn't work in our favor, as it has today, even for us. So I want to provide that the information we are providing is subject to look a little bit different in your Howdy portal. Overall, though, information is going to stay the same. So as we jump into this is what your applicant portal is going to look like. You will have a series of items that are in this maroon box that will check off by themselves. So if you're a student that applied for FAFSA, great, it is going to check off that you have applied for it. Some of these items are going to be optional and don't necessarily mean that you have to complete them. A great example of that is going to be applying for housing. Not all of our students are going to opt to want to live on campus. Some of you might be like, I already have a friend that lives here and I'm going to go live in their apartment or their house. So you wouldn't take care of that action item. However, you will take care of a lot of these other items, from registering any guests or participants for your new student conference, taking care of that tuition rate code, taking your placement exams, and registering for breakout sessions for the new student conference. Again, we will have the Texas Success Initiative, the math placement exam, foreign language placement exam, and then we also have chemistry prep modules that will be discussed in our session in March. We also have a list of items that you are able to check off yourself. So you can come in here and you can see that maroon box, which has items that will check off by itself. You will also have this box of items that you can check off by yourself. I do want to emphasize the checking off by yourself so that you are checking it off only when it is complete. We have had instances where somebody's come to a conference and said, like, look at my phone, like it is complete, it has a check mark, but that is because you simply marked this item as complete. So you are welcome to begin taking care of any university business, from setting up your Texas A&M email, which is strongly encouraged, to submitting a photo for your student ID, which you'll be able to pick up at your new student conference. Lastly, we do have Howdy. Again, this is going to change slightly potentially when we reach the May, June, July months, but this is what Howdy looks like right now. So once you log into Howdy, yours might look a little bit different, have some more icons, have a few less, but once you log in, you will see a plethora of little buttons. The one that you will be looking at to see all of your course registration holds, your time ticket, your action items, etc., you will be clicking on the registration readiness button, and that icon will take you to another page in which you are able to begin navigating some information. At the top of that page, you will have a list for your registration status showing, are you able to register for classes at this time? At this time, probably not. You might still have some items that you need to do. It does your academic status permit registration. Honestly, y'all aren't going to have to worry about that one right now. But the holds preventing registration is going to be what is most important. So anything that is highlighted in green, it means you are good to go. You have already completed this item. Anything that is highlighted in yellow or in red does need to be completed. So your terms of use, your location update, your holds will need to be done every single semester. The lab safety acknowledgement that you are seeing on the screen is something that you would need to complete if you are taking a lab class in that semester. And you wouldn't be able to register for a lab class until it is complete. So jumping back to what we had mentioned in the beginning, these action items are going to be items that will stop you from registering. Good news is these are quick and simple items to take care of, but they are items that are going to need to be completed in order to register. But they will not have a hold placed on your account. If you happen to scroll all the way to the bottom of your screen, then you would see the number of holds that you have. So this student here, let's just call them Joe, for example. Joe has a lot of holds. So Joe missed their new student conference, hasn't completed their tuition rate selection yet, still has the TSI hold. So Joe has a lot of things that Joe needs to complete before being able to register for classes at the new student conference. So that AN hold, that new student conference attendance, again, Joe's just going to come to our help desk once he shows up and says, hey, y'all, I have this hold. Great, we'll be able to lift it then. A lot of these holds, like the tuition rate selection, once Joe selects the tuition rate selection at the new, whether it's now or at the new student conference after attending that financial matters session, then that hold will release automatically, and so on and so forth with these holds. I do want to highlight some items on here as well. So you'll see the final transcripts. Final transcripts was placed after the semester had started. So that semester starting aspect is okay because you don't necessarily need it submitted to register at your conference. So please don't stress about that. We understand that it can take your high school some time to get that package together. Same with community colleges or wherever you might be coming from, in order to get those credits fully transferred to Texas A&M and checked off on your list. Another one that I want to point out is going to be T9. That is the need for direct deposit refund. This is not going to impact your ability to register for classes at all. All it means is essentially that if you were to receive a refund, that you would probably be receiving a paper check instead of just a direct deposit into your bank account. But Corey will spend a little bit of time talking about our communication. You will receive a lot of communication from us between May and the first day of class and beyond.
Yes. So like Olivia said earlier in the webinar, it is my job to communicate with y'all about the holistic NSC process and then specifically for what happens on day one from our office. In order to do that, I send that to your Texas A&M Gmail and then also the email that you use to apply for Texas A&M, what we call your admissions email. In order to sign up for your Texas A&M Gmail, there's a link that you can click in your applicant portal. You can also go to your Howdy portal and click the mail icon, and that will take you to the setup page to set up your Texas A&M Gmail. I highly, highly, highly encourage you to do that now because your college is going to start communicating with you with information for day two, as well as what it's like to be a student within the college, as well as we will start communicating with you after the decision deadline on May 1st and start giving you that important information about holds, the NSC process, what you need to know, what you need to be doing, kind of those reminders to make sure that you are ready for your NSC and can make the most of it. In addition, I want to make sure that we say that we are not forgetting about our parents and our families and our supporters because we know that they play a huge role in that transition for our students. However, the only way that our office can communicate with you in terms of the NSC is if your student registers you as a guest for their NSC. So tell your student to go in, register you as a guest of theirs. We will get your contact information that way, and that is how we will communicate with you as well, giving you specific information about what your student should be doing, but also some resources that we have to support our families and supporters as well. I also want to say, make sure that you add us to your contacts in your email because that also plays a role too. So we don't get filtered to the spam folder. Our email is nsfp@tamu.edu. If you have any questions throughout the NSC process or once you get here on campus, feel free to email our office. We have a great team here who works to make sure that our students have the best transition while also making sure that our families have access to resources and support as well. I want to dive a little bit deeper into what we will communicate with you. Sorry about that. So you'll get an email communication about online orientation and breakout session selection in early May. Online orientation will launch at that time. We will send you the link to access it. You can begin completing that and knocking that action item out. As well as our breakout session selection that will open in May as well. A lot of the NSC is formatted and we have set sessions. Those breakout sessions are really a time for you to do what we like to call build your own adventure. We have university libraries that come. We have student activities. We have the Career Center, professional school advising, all of these different offices and support resources across campus come together for a resource for our breakout sessions. And you kind of get to choose which two you want to attend and kind of build your NSC experience that way. So we highly recommend that you select your breakout sessions. We will also communicate some outstanding holds that might be preventing registration. The hold that we will communicate with you will be that online orientation hold since our office handles that program. In addition, your academic units, meeting location and expectations for day two will come from your academic unit or college. They will send you that information along with what they need you to complete in order to be able to register for classes on day two. Now I'm done, Olivia.
Sorry, my mouse was being funny.
No, you're good.
All right, so as we wrap up, we do have our Ready, Set, Register placement exam session. So if you want to take a moment to go to that text.ag /New Aggie series. You can go ahead and register for that. This session is going to be all about those placement exams, from your math placement exam to talking about the Texas Success Initiative, the chemistry prep modules, which we'll go into more detail about, and then also talking a little bit about our foreign language placement exam for our friends taking placement or planning to take a foreign language class. This will be hosted at the same time, same day of the week, so it'll be on a Wednesday from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. And Corey, do you want to close us out?
Yes. So thank y'all so much for hanging out with us this evening. We hope you gained some valuable information and got a kickstart to your NSC process. I want to remind you of our contact information because, like I said, we are here to support you as a student. We're here to support your family as well throughout this NSC process and beyond. So we are on campus. You can stop by and see us. I don't recommend it. But feel free to call us at 979-845-5826. We also have a text line that you can text us questions during your NSC. You can text us if you have questions as well. And that is 979-256-1311. As a reminder, our email is nsfp@tamu.edu. And then also follow us on social media. We post a lot of great resources and information, as well as some fun student highlights and things that are going on and happening around campus. Our office handles more than just the NSCs. We also are responsible for Howdy Week, which is our welcome during that time right before classes start into that first week of classes at the beginning of the semester as a welcome to our new and returning students and really to kick you off and make sure that you are creating your own Aggie experience here at Texas A&M. Our office also handles Family Weekend, which is Chapman's bread and butter with the family program side as well in the spring. So follow us on social media to keep up to date on all of that. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube. And I hope y'all learned something great today and something valuable. If we have any questions, we can do that now, although I think Chapman and Chantel kind of took care of those throughout.
Yes. And then in addition, I just want to add that if you aren't sure where to go, like we have covered this information today and you're like, oh my gosh, I have this one question about the IC hold, but I don't know where to go anymore. Feel free to contact our office and we will definitely serve as that connection to the correct individuals. We have handled things from connecting people to other offices to somebody sending us a picture of their parking spot in a parking garage and saying, where am I parked? To somebody, I guess, one time got towed and asked us where their car was. So we do our best to help you no matter what the situation is. I will say if you do get towed, we might not be the best resort in that instance because we don't have a tow truck. But we are happy to support you in whatever way you need support, and we'll stick on for a little bit for questions as well.
A question I got privately, but I want to bring it to the group. It was if they provide on-campus accommodations for your NSC. And so it is not included in your NSC fee. So you have two options. One option is that you can go through your AIS portal and select that you want to have on-campus accommodations. And then you'll be able to stay in one of our residence halls. That is a first come, first served basis depending on each date. So if you're wanting to say that, that's a great option as well. But a lot of our students and families do stay at hotels and other hotels around the Bryan College Station. So those are great options as well. But yes, the fee does not include housing accommodations.
And I'll add on to what Chapman said. On-campus accommodations are at most of our conferences, but not necessarily all of them. And you'll only be able to register for those on-campus accommodations if they are offered for your selected NSC date.
Right now, we have no questions in the chat.
All right. I think
Oh,
let's.
one,
Oh,
sorry,
one.
one just popped up as Chapman said that.
Well, good thing I was going to say let's stick around for like 2-3 more minutes.
So what is the latest NSC date? We do have an August session. We try to keep that for our out of state or our international students, but it is open to if your college is participating, you're able to sign up for that. The second part of that question, so that NSC conference, I believe, happens that week before the first day of class. And we'll get that updated on our website soon as well. The second part of that question was if you sign up for a later NSC, does it mean that you generally have less choices for classes? That is a myth that we hear a lot at new student conferences or from students that are concerned about this. I want to reassure you that our advisors are holding sections and seats in classes throughout the summer to make sure that all of our students have an opportunity to sign up for the classes that they need to sign up for. What I will say is that as we progress through the summer, those sessions fill up and you might not get the time, the professor, or necessarily the class that you want for your first semester. You might have to do it your second semester, things like that. So you will be able to register for classes. You will have options. Just know that you might end up with an 8 a.m. class, and that's going to happen in your college career, no matter how hard you try to avoid it.
Yes.
One question they had is about they are having trouble accessing their Texas A&M email. It's saying they're not eligible. What should they do?
I would recommend my first follow-up question would be, have you accepted your admittance to Texas A&M by signing up for your NSC? If so, and you're still not able to access your Texas A&M Gmail, I recommend contacting IT. And Chapman, if you want to find that link and
Yes,
drop
I
it,
will.
I would recommend reaching out to them. We have a great help desk who's able to troubleshoot some of those problems as
Mhm.
well.
Yes.
As a follow-up to the different NSCs, there was a question about how do you find out if your college is participating during a specific NSC? Great news. You will only be able to register for an NSC if your academic or college is participating in it. So you can find that information on your applicant portal. If you want to see all of the NSCs that we have throughout the summer to start planning without necessarily registering for an NSC, we have those listed on our website at newaggie.tamu.edu. If you go to the students page and then there are dates and schedules tab, click that and it'll pop up and show you all of our NSC dates and then all of the colleges that are participating. I will say you will not be able to register for an NSC if all of the seats for your college are filled. So that college might still be listed on our website on New Aggie, but it might not pop up in your applicant portal. Like I said, you'll only be able to register for classes or register for an NSC if your college is participating and has seats available.
Yes. Um, I see 2 questions left. One is there a difference between being able to take the vaccination, so referring to bacterial is what I am assuming, for health reasons and choosing not to take it because of personal beliefs? How do you submit each one? Uh, this would be that same process going through that Aggie One Stop website about bacterial meningitis and connecting with Aggie One Stop to see what your options are, because we do our best as an institution to allow individuals to make decisions based on personal beliefs, but also in their best interest of their health and safety. So we will find that website again and post that in the chat.
Are there any general requirements for all majors that need to be filled that's not necessarily in the course catalog?
All students will have a specific set of core curriculum that they need to complete. Some of that is going to be accomplished from taking classes within your major. Other ones are going to be like all students have to take, I believe, a polls class or have the option to take a polls class to fulfill one of the requirements. And so if you're an engineering major, you might be like, why do I have to take a political science class? Just know that you might be taking some classes outside of your major. I do recommend searching core curriculum, TAMU, to see what courses are offered and what the requirements are.
I'm going to hit this next question. How many students are in each NSC advising / registration section? I will say for the day one of your NSC, you will likely be with around 700 other students plus their families and guests. I'd say we have on average at an NSC around 1,200 people, including students and guests. However, on day two, you are going to break into your individual colleges and then even further breaking down into your individual departments for advising and things like that. Each college is different depending on if you're going into engineering or the School of Public Health, College of Arts and Sciences. It all depends. But you will be in a smaller group on day two. Did I
Yes.
I think that covers it.
I think we've answered. I'm planning on taking summer courses at a local community college. How would I get those credits transferred over?
So you would have to request a transcript, an official transcript to be sent to Texas A&M. For most institutions, that does require a small fee to send that over. I don't believe it should be more than $20. I honestly believe it should be significantly less than that, but I also haven't sent a transcript in a while, so I don't know what that looks like. But just send that over, that official transcript, once you have completed that course. But as far as making sure that your academic unit is aware that you have taken the class, bring an unofficial transcript so that they are aware that you're taking it.
Sorry, I'm responding. Do we have to finalize our classes at the NSC? Or what is the process to adding a class during this summer, during ad drop, etc.?
Yeah. So all students will have a time ticket that they are assigned during their new student conference that will open at 2 p.m. on day two of your new student conference and close at 5 p.m. The goal is that you are walking out of your new student conference with a finalized schedule for your first semester. However, as the semester gets closer, you will have the opportunity during open registration to register and adjust your schedule. I will say if you are interested in adjusting that schedule, please consult your academic advisor because we want to make sure that you don't miraculously drop all of the classes that they helped you register for. And then a semester or two down the road, you're like, why hasn't any of my classes counted towards my graduation? So your academic advisor is going to be your best resource. And then I do see a question that says, is there an admitted day at TAMU or an NSC only? So the only like admitted day, prospective student day I am aware of is going to be the Aggieland Saturday, and that occurred this last 2 Saturdays ago, I believe. And so that is the only one that I am aware of. The NSC is separate from that, and that will be something that is run by our office. The admitted student day was run by Visitor Experience.
Thanks for that. In addition to that, ultimately the confirmation day or decision day on May 1st, when you all, the deadline to confirm your admissions decision could also be considered that too. So that'll definitely be the day where you see nationwide students are posting about coming to Aggieland, becoming Aggie. So definitely recommend and encourage you all to participate in that day. And again, that'll be May 1st. So making sure that you have your decisions in and confirmed by May 1st.
Yes, thank you. My son's required documents show a transcript needed for a dual credit university for a dual credit class. The student can decline and accept the credit. If they decline the credit, will the required transcript come off? So I am not aware of a student having the ability to accept or decline dual credit. I do have the knowledge that a student is able to accept or decline credit for an AP class. So I would double check the information that you are receiving. If you want to send our office an email and we can look at it a little bit closer, please feel free to email us at nsfp@tamu.edu. And then our last question that we'll answer is going to be this question of, does that mean I did something wrong? In reality, you shouldn't have a day 0, 1, and 2 for your new student conference. The only instance in which we've seen a day 0 was years ago, like pre-COVID, pre my time in this office, when they would do like a day to like check in early, or there was like a day 0 that was offered for our veteran students, which is no longer offered. So all you have is day 1 of your new student conference, which will be the date that is showing in your AIS portal, and day 2 of your new student conference, which will also be showing in there. But if you happen to see something different, please feel free to email our office so that we can take a better look at this and see, where this information might be coming from, because this might also be something that's different, but seems similar to the new student conference. So we just want to be able to help you out. Other than that, I think those are all of the questions that we have. So I think thank you all for being here. Thank you to all of our panelists for being here and supporting this as well. Students, if you happen to have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our office. We are open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and we would be happy to assist you. We have a great team of student employees and so many staff members that are available to help you get through this process. You had some really great questions today, and we hope to see you in our session in March. Thank you so much for joining. Bye.